positive self-talk that I have now, like, you helped me shift my mindset around that. Just like, hey, what if you looked at it this way? What if you looked at it this way? And then like step 5 in there was repeating to yourself over and over, just these phrases. And before it was like, yeah, I could do some declarations or something, but like, whatever, that doesn't really work. And the way that you approached it with me had me like really believing that I could control what's going on in my mind and that I have power when I speak to myself. So this weekend, over this past week, I was at an event and we had to do some really hard physical activities. And there was a moment where I was I was carrying this sandbag on my back or my shoulders. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, I'm in a lot of pain. I don't want to be doing this. And then I just realized, like, no, like, I got this. And I just repeated that to myself over and over. I got this, I got this, I got this. And immediately I felt that surge of energy, this like, okay, yeah, I got this. Like, I could change. It's like I shifted from that stressed state, just repeating a mantra to myself. I immediately was in this like, okay, I can do this. And I completed what it is I needed to do, and I completed it powerfully. And I don't think, that was not a common practice for me before, to believe in my self-talk as much. I would really beat up on myself before. And after my work with you, I really got to like, I could believe what it is I said to myself and have it make a difference. And I had real like physical proof this week of the impact that the words I tell myself have on my body, my whole experience.
And, actually from the very beginning, those words did have power. Like,
Mm-hmm.
the negative words had power.
Yes.
I can only believe the negative words that I'm telling myself, but I can't believe the positive words, because you do have power. And so at the beginning of every session, I don't know if you remember, but I ask you the same thing every session at the beginning, to tell me 3 things that are going well for you. And then we talked about, where's your surge of energy? Did you feel a surge of energy in any of them? And could you describe that feeling? And the reason why I had to describe that feeling was so that you would recognize it later and say, okay, that was a surge of energy, and I can build off of that. And I remember one session you said, I realized that I can have these surges of energy, and if I recognize it, if I can have that feeling, then I can build off of that, and it creates momentum until I'm in a better place. So recognizing your energy, I think, was a big theme for you, which you have super powerful energy, which could be used either way. We just learned to turn it the other direction. I don't know if you remember this or not, but I remember negative self-talk, and we talked about a camping trip that you went on. Do you remember?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Would you be comfortable with just sharing a little tiny bit about that and the energy around that, and how you've learned to like handle situations like that a little bit better?
Yeah. I'll share what I remember from that experience, and you probably will remember more about it as well. But I went camping, and we were close to this other campsite, and there was 3 other women in that campsite, and I was really beating myself up about the way that I looked. And I spent a huge amount of time just like studying these other women, like, oh my gosh, which one of them do I look the most alike? Or, okay, there's the one that was overweight to me, and the medium overweight, and the like, okay, she's kind of skinnier, like she's the quote unquote best looking of the group. And I was like, okay, like, which one do I look like? I got to compare myself. And I spent a ridiculous amount of time, like probably 2 hours, just sitting there in a chair, studying other people, comparing myself to them. And then I asked someone, I was like putting myself as like, okay, I'm probably the medium sized one or whatever. And I asked someone next to me, like, hey, which one of those women do I look the most alike? And they said, oh, what I had considered the skinniest one. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, I spent so much time sitting there judging these women, myself, like wasted all this time when, like, I just like the way that I view myself is totally different than the way that other people view me. And then does it even matter is what I remember
Okay.
from that experience.
Yeah, and that is a feeling that a lot of women go through, daily. And it's like exhausting. And so
Yeah,
I
totally.
to see kind of where you were at. And we talked about your negative thoughts. And there were times where it took 7 sentences before you stopped. And
Oh,
so,
yeah.
yeah, like how many sentences are you going to say in your head that are negative until you stop? And I think we haven't talked for a week because you've been out of town, but I think we've got it down to 1 or 2 sentences, which is a remarkable difference. And also that
Yes.
you can pull yourself out, step outside of yourself, so get this ridiculous situation. How
Mhm.
which is the goal of life coaching, is that you become your own life coach to a certain extent, because
Yes.
you always need someone, like an outside opinion, just like, this is where I'm at. Can you tell me, what you're
Yeah.
seeing? But even to have enough self-esteem to be willing to ask someone that
Mhm.
is progress from a person who's just continually negative, because there is energy coming from that. It's getting bigger and
Yeah.
bigger. Either it's getting bigger towards being in a super negative situation or state of mind, or super positive, which I felt this energy today when you got on this interview or with this Zoom call. I felt that energy right away, that you're creating that yourself, which is power. So,
Can I say something about those sentences? That was one of the biggest tools that you taught me about. Like, I sat there with those women for way more than 7 sentences, 2 hours worth of sentences. And to have you help me see, like, to catch myself on 1 or 2 before I go down that rabbit hole. And it is true. Like, now I do catch myself on sentence 1 or 2, and I stay out of stress a lot more than I used to. And I am able to coach myself now through those moments. Like, there's some things that I struggled with in the beginning of coaching with you that are no longer an issue for me. And on top of that, like, a whole new future and set of like problems has showed up. And so for me, I have been so grateful for the tools you have given me to contribute to my own life. And I've also gotten that I will never be without a life coach in my life, because of the perspective that you or other coaches like have on your life, like that outside perspective. A lot of the times, like, my thoughts are like right up here in my face, and you are in the background, like able to help me see a new way of looking at it. Even if I do have the tools to coach myself, like, that outside perspective is worth more than anything. So I will never not have a coach.
yeah, I totally agree. So let me ask you, give me a difference between 2 sentences. A sentence that you may have said, or a first negative sentence you may have experienced in the past. Like, when you have a stream of negative sentences, what might be the first one you might hear in your head?
I'm tired, I'm fat, I'm weak, something like that.
And I bet you're hesitant to say that because you don't want to get in that energy mode, right?
Yeah. It is like a pathway I am very used to going down, so it's like, as soon as I say that, I open up. It's like a very familiar pathway for me to go down, like, oh my God, let's just go sit in that feeling. And I don't want to do that.
And I love the pause, because I felt like you have a shield or a guard up a little bit, like, wait, are you sure you want me to go that way?
Yeah.
So what would be something you would say after the first sentence to yourself, or the second sentence, when you get in that mode?
I check in with how I'm doing. Like, hey, like, did I talk to someone that triggered? Was there like a trigger? Did I eat something? Did I sleep well? Was like, just, I'm looking at more like my outside perspective, or things that are going on in my life, instead of me as a person. Before, it very much was, I am this way forever, always. And now it's like that thought comes, and I'm able to catch it and say, okay, wait, like, I know that's not who I really am. So what in my life is having me feel this way, and can I do something about it?
Right, and that kind of tells you there's a total you, a total healthy you. Like there's emotions, there's what you eat, how you slept,
Yeah.
who you were with. All of these things play into the total package of who you are. There was a guy at work that came in yesterday and said, he says, my brain is so cloudy, I can't think. Do you ever have that happen? And I said, well, just try this. Try intermittent fasting for one day, just fast till like 1 or 2 till tomorrow and see how you feel. Because when you fast, usually your brain gets clearer. And, there's lots of different reasons to fast. But I just said, just try this. And then, so he came in today and he says, okay, I'm fasting till 2, and it was 11. And he says, I'm already feeling much better. I can really think my true thoughts. And I said, okay, now at 2, why don't you eat a whole bunch of carbohydrates? And let's see how that goes. And he said, what? And I said, well, let's just do an experiment. Just eat a ton of carbohydrates after that and just see how your brain feels and see if you respond well to carbohydrates or if you don't. Tomorrow I'll do the same thing and try proteins. And so you're experimenting so you can say, oh, I realize this is the cause.